Day. If it's Wednesday and it's 7:30, then you are here and I am here. Wellness Wednesday on the Amazing Great Sports Network here. Yes, once again we are here talking about, and I'm wondering how I can, I just noticed that you guys don't see it as the plant paradox. You see it upside down, okay? And I haven't figured out how to mirror this so that you can actually see it as what it is, the plant paradox. Probably that's something I'm not doing right here, but then again, I am not perfect. And since I am not perfect, not everything is right all the time when I want it to be. We're going to check in the video, see. You know what? We're not even going to mess around. If we mess around and screw it up and we lose video, then the whole thing is lost. We're going to have to experiment with this when, when, uh, oh, you know what? Here it is. Mirror camera. Mirror camera. Let me see. Here we go. Let me see if this does it. Try it again. All right, there we go. All right, guys, listen. Let's just get on to what we're doing here because this is very important and it's about your wellness. So that's the most important thing. Today, we're going to begin chapter 3 of the plant paradox. And what we're finding out is that this is a revolutionary book that the whole world should know, a book that's been in print for close to 10 years. And yet the majority of you don't know about it, which is a big problem. The majority of people, not only in America, but around the world, have not heard of the plant paradox. And that's unfathomable, unfathomable, because what you don't know is actually killing you. And I can't stress that enough. Okay. And that's very, very important. And that's really, really real. That being said, I'm in Naples, Florida right now, one of the more affluent areas in the country. And you'll be surprised, 9 out of the 10 people that I run into, and we're talking about health and why they're experiencing problems with their health, have never heard of this book. And I can almost guarantee that most of you have not heard of it. Why? Because none of the country's major media outlets, except for one, has ever put this book on or explored the chapters and what it is saying in this book, much less just even reported the existence of this book, because there is too much money at stake. But here on the Amazing Great Sports Network, which, of course, I created just for this, to disseminate news without any political or ideology, and to be able to disseminate news that is important to you that you're not getting from the so-called news. It's important to us, not just me or you, us, important to us as a whole, because your health matters, because my health matters. So because I investigate things pertaining to my health, all of this comes from having health situations in which I had to investigate why I was sick or injured or hurt, why certain things kept occurring. So my investigation leads to different avenues and alternative avenues that are not listed in mainstream media. And because of that, I find out many, 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 many things that are very important to you that are not being discussed with you. So let's get down to business. Now, in chapter one of this book, I'm going to use a little slide thing here. Okay. Chapter 1 of this book, you learned about the health war. Okay. You have a war going on between plant animals. And you are part of that plant and animal war. You didn't know, okay? But you're an animal. And the plants have been waging war against you because you eat them. And they're not too happy about that. They're not too happy about the fact that you're eating them, and they're trying to put a stop to that. So there's a war going on. And in chapter 2, you learned that part of the defense system is a protein, a plant protein that we know or we have labeled as lectins or lectin or lectins. Okay, these things are in all grains, such as wheat, barley, rye, and sometimes oats. Oats. Depends on where the oats are grown and what strain they're using. Um, all of these grains contain gluten, and all of the glutens. I mean, all of them are glutens, and all of the glutens contain lectins. Gluten is a form of lectin, to put it mildly. Now that we got that out the way, um, there's also gluten-free alternatives known as we know them, gluten-free. People say that they have gluten-free alternatives such as flours made from buckwheat, corn, quinoa, and soy. Except those are also full of lectins. So even though you're getting away from glutens, you're not getting away from lectins. And really, glutens is just a form of lectins, a form of plant poison. So, um, what Dr. Gundry discovered was that when he eliminated lectins from his patients' diets, such as grains and WGA, we discussed that last week. WGAs, wheat, germ, agglutinates. When he eliminated this from their diets, that their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their immune deficiencies, and a host of other problems disappeared. So, in chapter 3, we're going to be going to chapter 3 on this, and chapter 3, you're going to find out that the focus is on you. Your gut is under attack. Okay. I'm going to read from the book now. Within your intestinal tract and mouth and skin, and even in the cloud around you, live hundreds of trillions of different minute microbes, bacteria, plus a good number of viruses, molds, fungi, protozoa, and I hate to say this, even worms. One of our biggest health misconceptions come from our collective lack of awareness of who we really are, the real you. Now we're talking about biologically, not mentally or spiritually, but biologically. The real you is actually what you think of as you, plus those multitudinous microbes. In fact, 90% of all the cells that constitute you are non-human. And what we mean by that is that they have their own DNA. They are bacteria. They are viruses, fungi. They have their own bacteria. So in that sense, they are non-human. To go a step further, 99% of the genes in you are non-human. That's scary to think about. Let's continue. At first glance, the multiple life forms which we coexist with may seem like an alternative reality, yet you and your microbes are literally in this together. Your health is dependent on them as theirs is on you. This multiplicity of microbes has collectively been called the microbiome, although scientists are now using the term holobiome to be more descriptive. Let me turn this over so we can keep you abreast of this. Okay, as we see, you have microbes. Now, your microbes, bacteria, viruses, these are inside of you, various places inside of your body, molds and fungi. All of these add up to what's called your microbiome, which is also called your holobiome. It's more descriptive because it just doesn't include the microbes in your gut, but also those on your skin and even in the cloud of bacteria surrounding each of us. End quote. I just want to interject here. Yeah, we used to call that an aura. Remember, my aura, you can feel my aura. Now we're finding out that maybe this aura thing is a bunch of bacteria that's surrounding us. It doesn't quite have the same, romanticism as an aura. But again, let us continue. Now let's take a closer look at what is going on inside your gastrointestinal tract, which is called your GI tract. For many, the gut, the microbiome, your gut, for many of the microbiome, your gut is where they reside and do their job, breaking down and digesting plant cell walls and extracting energy and shipping it in the form of fats to you. Like all other animals, we are totally dependent on those microbe workers to do this crucial job. Even a termite cannot eat wood, does not really eat wood. The bacteria in its tiny gut actually does the work to digest the wood and convert it to energy, food. It uses it as food. It's the bacteria within the termite's gut that changes it to food. The microbes in your GI tract are there to digest things you cannot digest and pass that digested food into you. But they are also there to do battle with things you swallow that are meant to do you harm, which includes the plant proteins called lectins. Now, keeping intestinal microbes in their place is difficult because the intestinal barrier has two somewhat contradictory jobs. Not only must the cells that line your intestines keep lectins out, they must simultaneously let nutrients in. Now, this is a great system, except when it isn't. As you might suspect, things don't always work the way they're supposed to, thanks to changes in what we eat, how foods are grown, and other causes like consuming over the counter painkillers, particularly non steroidal anti inflammatory drugs, also known as NSAIDs, which you'll see on here. But as you can see, I was in a hurry and got the A on the NSAIDs, but it's non steroidal anti inflammatory drugs. Now we know these things. Okay, painkillers, those things, but also lectins and lipopolysaccharides, LPSs. So lipopolysaccharides, lectins, and NSAIDs are breaching our intestinal border. They're breaching our intestinal border on a daily basis. And with the exception of WGA, which is wheat germ agglutinin, lectins are big proteins, the big as far as proteins go. And you know that big proteins normally can't get through the intestinal wall without difficulty. But lectins are adept at prying apart the tight junctions between the cells that make up your intestinal mucosal border. This breach allows larger molecules to pass through, and into your body where they wreak havoc. And when lectins, LPSs, or both escape from your gut and into your body, your immune system perceives this as an attack and goes on high alert. And it signals your body to store fat and supplies for the war effort that is to come. Simultaneously, lectins bind to and block the border crossings of each intestinal cell so that vitamins and other nutrients can't be absorbed. Let's stop right there for a moment. We see that lectins make it their job to attack your intestinal mucosal border, which is part of your GI tract. It's the lining of your GI tract. And to get through to attack other parts of your body. So, make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. Plants are not messing around with you. They intend to do you harm. In addition, when they breach your intestinal wall, our body sends signals to store fats for the war effort against them. So lectins are not only attacking your mucosal wall, getting through your GI system, but by getting through and forcing your body to send signals to store fat, and this is almost a genius. They get through the wall, okay? They attack the whole of your body. Remember, they get into your joints, and now you have pains in your joints, and then they cripple you by making you fat also, because it sends signals to your body to store fats in order to fight the attack of the lectins. It's unbelievable. It's ingenious. But for all of you that are walking around overweight, and that's the majority of you, that's the majority of Americans are walking around overweight and trying to take it off by dieting or going to the gym 2 times a day and 5 times a week, and not getting anything done because you're just eating the wrong foods and nobody's telling you about it because there's so much money involved in keeping you eating these foods. Okay. Not only is that happening, but you are about to find out something that's very, very important, something that's going to shock you. As we used to say back when I was a kid, it's going to blow your mind. Okay, but you have been aided. You have been helping lectins break through your intestinal wall to attack your body. Because if you have been taking NSAI, could we call these NSAIDs or just NSAIDs, non-steroidal inflammatory drugs such as Advil, Aleve, aspirin, Celebrex, Motrin, and Naproxen, you're about to get a rude awakening. Let's get back to the book. About 12 years ago, we're talking about the book, not me. So we're reading from the book. Dr. Gundry says about which would be about 20 something years ago now. Okay, in addition to the publishing of this book, I ran into the head of pathology in the hall of my hospital. He said, "Hey, you trained as a general surgeon before becoming a heart surgeon. What do you know about intestinal webs?" I told him that I had never heard of them before. Neither had he replied, and proceeded to tell me about a woman in her 50s who had come in with intestinal obstruction and was immediately rushed into the operating room where a large part of her small intestine, which was swollen and blocked in several areas, had to be removed. When the pathologist opened the bowel, he discovered webs of tissue, like washes, on the fitting of a garden hose, which completely blocked the entire interior of the tube, leaving only pinhole openings for anything to get through. The pathologist said he had never seen anything like it. Intrigued, I asked where the webs had come from. He didn't know yet, but he researched it, and sure enough, it's actually quite common in people who regularly use NSAIDs, such as Advil, Motrin, both brands of ibuprofen, Aleve, Naproxen, Mobic, Celebrex, and aspirin. All but aspirin were introduced in the early 1970s for pain and fever relief as arthritis medication in lieu of aspirin. It was found that prolonged use of aspirin was clearly associated with damage to the stomach lining. But because other NSAIDs did not do damage, the stomach did not damage the stomach, drug companies heralded them as nothing short of miraculous. Well, my next question to my colleague was how these NSAIDs cause internal webs to form. His reply was that he didn't care. Now that he knew what the webs were from, now that he knew what the webs were, but being the curious type, I started investigating. And in doing so, I opened up a Pandora's box and have never looked back. In brief, NSAIDs do not damage the stomach lining, which we can view with a gastroscope. Instead, they damage the lining of the small intestine, which is beyond the reach of a scope. Because we could not see their ill effects, NSAIDs have done extreme damage to the barrier that keeps not just lectins, but also LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, out of you. Now, we're going to stop there. Just hold on for a second. We're going to stop right there for today. And as you can see, I have a neighbor that has dogs, and the dogs never know how to shut up. They do this every morning. You think they might learn something, but we're talking about dogs. And of course, the people that own the dogs never learned that the dogs will never learn. So this occurs every morning. And it's annoying. But I digress. We're going to stop there because I know you've heard enough. That's all you need to know for today. All of these years, you have heard aspirin is bad because it rips holes in your stomach lining. That's true. But millions and millions of people have been directed to NSAIDs as if they were the holy grail to pain relief, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You can take these over the counter, and they will take care of aches and pains and without any side effects. Not true. These people who have been directed to take these things have been getting sick and suffering badly, with the only remedy being the removal of the whole or parts of their small intestine. Is this insanity or what? Truly it is. And we're part of that insanity. Now, here's the point that I've been driving at and driving home as I've read this book over the past month. How many of you knew this? How many of you knew any of this? The problem is none of you. This information has been out for a period of years, at least. Well, I don't even know, but you haven't heard about it on ABC, CBS, or NBC, or any of the affiliates. None of them. That okay. That a lot of this of what you've been doing, a lot of what they've been recommending has been damaging to you. Now, don't you find that amazing? Don't you find that mind-boggling? Well, despite that, let's not worry about that because you didn't know about it all of this time, so nothing you can do. It's time to move on. But my wellness to you, my wellness is my concern, and your wellness should be your concern. Because my wellness is my concern, what I discover will become your concern also. And the betterment of my wellness will become the betterment of your wellness. I'll pass it on to you. Whatever I learn, whatever I find out, and believe me, there are hundreds of thousands of people that know about this. But the fact is, everybody should know about this because there's a lot of people walking around with beer bellies and all kinds of immune deficiencies that are directly attributable to their diet. And they don't know about it. And they're going to doctors who are putting them on all kinds of medication that is not helping them. So, since you're learning about this, if you have a friend who is vegetarian, I know a couple, I've even given this book to a couple of vegans, and I know they didn't read them because they didn't change their diet and they've just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. They thought I was trying to take them away from being vegans, and I wasn't. I was trying to show them which vegetables to eat, but sometimes things get lost in the communication. I hope they do read the book so they can fix their health, and I hope that you, as you're learning this, are passing it on to people you know who are having rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, and a lot of things that probably could be fixed. And the best thing about it is it won't cost you anything but the book. Okay, you won't have to go deep into any medications. You just have to change your diet. It might even save you money. In other words, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, Claim Ross of the Amazing Grace Sports Network, signing off again on Wellness Wednesdays. Take this information, pass it on to your friends and families. Matter of fact, send them a copy of the video. Or just send them a link to the video so that they can get the information themselves. Hopefully, I presented it in a way that made sense and gave you an idea of what you are up against. As we talked about, you're in a war. You have lectins that are attacking your body and what they are doing to your gut, which is not on this, which was the previous page. And my wife always said that she can just stop me from talking. It'll be great. So chapter 1, the war between plants. Chapter 2, lectins on the loose. And chapter 3, your gut under attack. And that's all you are getting from me today. You have to tune in next week to get the rest. Listen, I've had fun. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy this immensely. Have a good Wednesday. And I will see you tomorrow on NBA Thursday, where we talk about the Western Conference of the NBA and what's happening. And I have no idea what happened today, but I will find out. Talk to you later. Have a good day. Have a good week. If you don't tune into any more of the Amazing Grace Sports Network, have a good week. Wellness Wednesdays, we are out. Goodbye.